John thinks saving for college is stupid. That's going to be our topic today on Friends Talk Financial Planning. Hi, I'm Bridget Sullivan, Mermel. I've got a fee-only financial planning practice in Chicago, Illinois.
And I'm John Scherer. I've got a fee-only financial planning practice in Middleton, Wisconsin. Before we start talking about saving for college, I want to remind everybody to hit that subscribe button. We're almost at our goal of 1,000 subscribers, so hit that subscribe, and then let's talk about saving for college. And I got to say, I don't disagree. I'm not a big fan of saving for college, but I'm not sure I said that it's stupid or not. So that might be a little clickbait on behalf of my partner here.
Okay, so let's just talk this through. So why don't you build the case? I think maybe you need a little bit more time in high school. Yeah.
That's right.
So maybe
Consider the source,
yeah.
Right? But no, actually a good friend of mine just had a baby, and they're talking about what things you need to do, right? Hey, we got to start saving for college. It's so expensive, and it certainly is, right? I mean, I'm not saying that college doesn't cost a lot of money, but I don't think that it's as big of a delta or big of a change as what it comes out to be. You see these numbers, it costs $25,000 to $50,000 a year. So, 4 years, 5 years, you're in for $250,000. How do you pay for this thing, right? So it's scary on the one hand. But like a lot of things, I like to step back and take a look at some of the facts, like what's actually going on here, right? So one of the factors that I look at is that it's not like your kids cost nothing from 0 to 18, and then when they go to college, suddenly you've got this great big expense that comes in, right? They already cost something, and some of those costs get transferred over, right? And actually the USDA puts together a really neat study every few years about what the cost of raising a child is. We can put a link in the show notes for that. But it says, something like $10,000 or $15,000 a year to raise a kid for food and shelter and, activities and those things. Well, some of that stuff transfers over, right? So is there an increased cost? Yes. But then I'm not buying food at home for my kid when I'm buying their food at college, right? It's not a double dipping sort of thing. So one of the things is, there's a change, but it's not 0 to 25,000 or 0 to 50,000. It's something in the middle of that. So, and you just take a look at that. You cut that number, the scary college number, by a quarter or a third or something. You go, suddenly it becomes more manageable from that standpoint. So that's one thing that people don't think about very often.
Yeah, that's interesting. The other thing is that I think people do think about, I don't know where my kid's going to want to go, if they're going to want to go. Sometimes it's hard for people to even think 20 years out.
Oh, yeah. 2 years out for something, right?
Exactly.
It's hard, right?
And so there's just a lot of uncertainty about all these different factors. Mm-hmm. And so I think that can make it hard for people to save for college.
Right, to think about. I'll tell you one of the other things, and I use this all the time. So my kids are very close in age. They're both in preschool and, daycare sort of thing at the same time. We just a new client signed on, and their kids are sort of in that middle ground like my kids are. And I said, we haven't really saved for college. I think we really want to focus on this. And super smart way to think about things. But I'd said to them, when you had the kids, were they in, daycare? And remember that expense? Holy mackerel, that was, and for my two boys in daycare, it was like the cost of going to UW-Madison for one college tuition. And I said, to these, how often did you save? How much did you save for preschool or daycare? Well, we didn't save for daycare. But you put your kids in daycare, right? Oh, yeah. Well, how did you? And it was a giant expense. It was a huge expense. Well, how did you make it work? They're like, I don't know. We just kind of made it work. Mm-hmm. Right? And so when you think about that, again, not that, just making it work as a plan, but the reality is when you have young kids, and many of us have, daycare costs, which are astronomical, you make it work out of cash flow.
Okay.
Right? And when you take a look, and is it exactly the same comparison? No, not exactly the same, right? But that idea of, we're going to have some more costs and some things, or have less expenses when the kids aren't doing their club soccer and all those things that they're doing. You go, you know what? It can be helpful from a peace of mind standpoint. You go, when we had the kids, we went from 0 to whatever the cost was, and we just made it work. We can do this thing again, right? And the idea of should you save for college? Like not that you shouldn't ever save for college, but the idea of if we haven't saved up for this, we're going to be in trouble. Well, if you weren't in trouble when you had the kids and you had this 5-figure cost annually for daycare, you're not going to be in trouble probably when you get to college and you've got a 5-figure cost that comes in, right? That sort of thing can really help put people's mind at ease.
Yeah, so you're saying that the stress or the feeling like you're being inadequate because you're spending money on your kids now instead of like saving for the money on the kids later, that's unnecessary worry.
That's
Maybe.
right. I mean, just to consider that
Yeah.
idea of, because exactly what you say, it's this stress like, oh, geez, I should have done this. I haven't. I'm supposed to do
Right.
this sort of thing, right? And then when you think about, well, wait a minute, we've been through this rodeo before for many of us when you have the daycare issue, right? And you go, oh, yeah, that's right. Daycare was really expensive. Yep. And you didn't save for it. Oh, no, I didn't save for it. And when you can look at that and you go, oh, yeah, college is going to be really expensive. Yep. And even if you didn't save for it, you go, well, hey, we figured this out before. Mm-hmm. The other thing for many people too, right? You think back, you go, 10, 15, 20 years ago when you first had the kids, where was your income? What was your income level? What's your income level now? And let's say if your kids are 10 years old, you got another, 7, 8, 10 years before they go to school. What's your income going to be likely in 10 years? You got no guarantees, but oh yeah, that's right. If I get this promotion and things, and geez, my income's probably going to be higher. Well, guess what? There's some of that saving or that contribution as well.
I
right?
had one client at one point that they had a consulting business and they ramped it up while the kids were in college. Like they weren't really making that much on it before.
Yeah.
And they're like, my kid's in college. I got to be motivated.
Right.
I got to go find these jobs.
Right. Right.
So that was an interesting take on it because it was like direct. I need $50,000 a year for this kid's college. I got to make that.
But that's one of your tenets of financial success overall is you can save more and you can do things, or you can make more money, right?
Right.
You talk about that all the time, which is great. Like, oh, there's possibilities. Mm-hmm. I was going to say that one of the things that ties right in with another option is that oftentimes if you don't have the preschool or the daycare thing, one parent perhaps stayed home for a period of time. And, and so we've had other folks, friends of mine, where one parent was a stay-at-home parent. Now the kids are 10 or 12 or whatever. And, geez, mom or dad's going to go back to work. And you think about, well, gee, if I've been a stay-at-home parent or we've had a stay-at-home parent for a period of time, when that parent goes back to work, what's the income that comes in from there? Oh, geez, there's college costs, right?
Well,
I mean, that can be as simple as, hey, I'm going to stay at home for the first 10 or 15 years. And then when I go back to work, my salary is going to pay for college for those 4 or 6 years, right?
So you have a very fly by the seat of my pants approach to college.
I prefer
savings.
to think
That's
of it
what
as
I would say.
pragmatic.
but I think a lot of other people are more comfortable with a different approach, which is, okay, I'm saving for my retirement, and let me say I'm going to save at least 10% of my income, maybe 12 or 15, just for retirement, right?
Yep.
And that's a no-brainer. It's automatically taken out. So what if I save another 5% or a certain amount for college? Mm-hmm. Like, because I like to have the money first, and then when I get to the thing, go, oh, look, I have the money.
Yep.
It's set aside for this.
Yep.
And in our profession, I call it being buckety.
Yeah.
Because they call it those mental buckets.
Yep.
Okay, so
Yep.
some people, they like to create a mental bucket. And it's like, okay, it's full. It's got my mental, this bucket is full. Now, one of the things we talk to people about is, well, it's kind of nice when you get to that point, if not all that bucket is, even if you want to create a bucket, if only half of that bucket is in like a 529 plan, which is a specific college savings plan, and another is in a lot more flexible plan that you could save for college or you could do something else with if you want.
Yep.
So that's my 2 cents, just so you know.
No, that's great. And I am a little bit more fly by the seat of your pants thing, but I think part of that is that, and not that saving, I think that saving for college is less important than people think it is, than we're being told it is. It's, hey, here's this sort of a marketing thing, like, hey, we need to be told this. But it is helpful for me when you think about, similar thing. We don't have people, I don't know, maybe you, but I don't have people that save up for daycare, right? And that's a giant expense.
It just hits people, right?
And to be able to have that recognition
like the tsunami.
of...
So they don't want the tsunami when their kid goes to college.
Right. But again, knowing that I've been through this before, if that's the case, it'll be okay, right? That
we'll
maybe
figure
is
it
that
out.
fear is, geez, we're going to be screwed if we don't do this. Like, no, should you save? Should you plan for it? Great. And I use envelopes instead of buckets because I'm a little bit more flexible, as you noted. But the same thing, right? Hey, I get this bucket filled up. I get this envelope with some college savings in it. No problem. But if I don't have that much, I'll figure it out. Like that sort of mentality and that peace of mind is sort of the messaging that that's really more important to me. And then I'll tell you the other thing that I look at it, and both Bridget and I know Bert Whitehead, who started the Alliance of Comprehensive Planners, 25 years ago. But one of his theories that I do espouse is to have the parents be committed for a third of the college costs, to think about taking out loans for a third and have the kids be responsible for a third, or some combination. And so many of us, and it differs based on your background and your approach and all these sorts of things, but the idea of having the kids provide some of the or some of the expenses, whether it's I'm going to pay for school and room and board and you pay for everything outside of that, or you pay for your housing, or some input. Again, that just you take a third off and you say, hey, you got to have a summer job to pay for a third of your schooling costs
and your fun money,
right? And fun money.
If you want to go on a trip,
right?
Great,
well,
get a job.
The other thing about college costs, when they say that, when you take a look at what goes into that, travel and fun money is part of the cost of college. You go, wait a minute, I'm paying So that's some of those things where, hey, look at what the real numbers are, right? What's the real difference between what you're paying now for your 12, 14, 16-year-old versus what you're going to pay for your college kid? And then know that, hey, I've been through this rodeo before. If you've done the daycare thing, you go, oh yeah, it might not be ideal. I might want to plan for it more, but it's not going to be an emergency. My kid's not going to not go to school. We'll figure it out. And then think about having them contribute some of that money, right?
Yeah.
A little bit goes a long way from that standpoint. That's the place where you come in and as you said before, like, hey, I'm going to save for retirement. If I've got extra I want to save for college, cool. So often we hear people want to say, well, geez, not for retirement and instead for college. And you go, no, let's do it that direction with things, right? So
the other thing I would pitch is that once your child does go to college, no matter if you're contributing zero or you're paying for the whole thing, coaching them and working with them and having a good relationship with them around how they're spending and how they're controlling that, I think is a key element of being a parent to somebody who's going to college. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. No, that's great. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap it up here, Bridget. Again, I'm John Scherer. I run a fee-only financial planning practice in Middleton, Wisconsin.
I'm Bridget Sullivan Mermel. I've got a fee-only financial planning practice in Chicago, Illinois. John mentioned Bert Whitehead, who started an organization that's called ACP, or the Alliance of Comprehensive Planners. We're both proud members of it, and we're also both taking clients. But if you're interested in an advisor in your area, you can check out acplanners.org.
And don't forget to hit that subscribe button.